Hey guys, what's up? Welcome. Another morning Saturday's live broadcast. Your show. I'm just the host of the show. Live unboxing show. So you guys pretty much direct how we go and what we talk about and what we don't talk about. How long we talk about something that we're talking about. So today we've got Ned Leeds. Ned has been a longtime friend of Peter Parker in the comics and had a very interesting progression of things throughout life, becoming marrying Betty Bryant from the Daily Bugle, the newspaper that Peter worked at. Well, freelance photographer for, run by J. Jonah Jameson, and so she became Betty Leeds. And then somehow becoming the Hobgoblin and all sorts of things. So from the Sony version of Spider-Man, Tom Holland version of Spider-Man, we see Ned again as his longtime buddy, and him and Peter are hacking into Tony Stark's Spider-Man suit, getting him off of the training wheels protocol, I think was what it was called, wasn't it? And Ned happens to catch him. He was over at Peter's house, at his apartment where he lived with his Aunt May. They were building the Star Wars, I think the Death Star from Lego. And he happens to catch Peter coming in his full-on Spider-Man garb. And that was the introduction to that. You just say he breaks the Star Wars Death Star Lego that they've been working on. So this is the box. It's made by One Toys. There's adult collectible recommended for ages 17 and up. So this goes beyond recommended for ages 15 and up, the Hot Toys says, and most other collectibles. And so, of course, with that in mind, this is not for children. This video is not made for kids. If you're under the ages of 13, please leave the channel. Don't want to be involved with any COPPA rules or regulations. So welcome to the Fat-Man, Ned Leeds. So my Spider-Man shelf is getting bigger and bigger. Matter of fact, I've already filled up the shelf. There's 2 items that can't even fit on the shelf as it is. My Venom and my Electro from, what was that? Amazing Spider-Man, I believe, right? Jamie Foxx played him, right? Electro was an absolute steal. In the last days of it still being brand new from Big Bad Toy Store, literally it cost me $50. And how could you pass a price of $50 on a Hot Toys? I mean, for real. So here's how he comes in this box. This will be one of those pieces that not everyone's going to get. That's the truth of it. And that's unfortunate that this is why Hot Toys would not even touch this. It's a completion piece, an accessory piece. It's a piece that tells a story. I was a little concerned about the proportions in regards to being believable, but just first impression, pulling him out of the box, he appears to be properly proportioned to me of how I would imagine he is in real life. The character, and forgive me, I don't not even know the actor's name. I'm sorry. I really should know his name. I'm really sorry for not taking the time to know his name. Noble, how you doing, man? Glad to see you. You were always like the first person, almost always the first person in on the group, and I know you were here, not here last week, so I'm glad to see you. So happy to have you, Noble. Good seeing you, man. And Save on Mason. There you go, another die hard with me every week. Thank you very much, guys, for being here. Ian, how's it going? Doing well. By the way, my wife was in the hospital. She was in there for Monday a week ago. She was sent home Thursday, so she was in the hospital for, was that 10, 11 days? So I'm glad to have her home again. No stand with this, but as you can see, he stands up well on his own. He feels pretty solid picking up. I imagine this was the fat body that was, or originally inspired by the fat body that was made, what was it, a year, 2 years ago, perhaps? I for real need to definitely improve my shelving. Spidey's going to, he's beyond. Spidey is totally taking up every room that I'd ever set aside for him. And I've got, right here, I've got the negative suit Spider-Man that's coming. We'll be unboxing it in 2 weeks. And by the way, the negative suit Spider-Man so far is the single most expensive Spider-Man suit that Hot Toys has made. Believe it or not. Of all things, who would have thought the negative suit Spider-Man suit would be more expensive than any of the other suits that they have sold? So it comes with 4 sets of hands, an extra set of eye pieces for the Spider-Man face mask, and I really wish that they had given us a Ned Leeds without the mask. I really do. I'm pleased that it comes like this. It really is. It's all about the story. Again, it's telling the story. And it really does, it tells that story. How many times can I say that? Sheesh. But I think you get what I'm saying. Should you ever have the opportunity to show off your collection, anybody comes to visit you or whatever, UPS guy sticks his head in while he's delivering your package, he would see this, or she, or whatever the case, and I would hope that they would recognize what this represents. I hope that they would say, oh yeah, that's the guy in the chair, right? That's his buddy when he was trying on the face mask, right? And that's what you should be getting with these. You know, you should be able to have a story be told to you just by looking at the character or the pose or what they're doing. And this really does it. He really feels solid. He's not a loose, weak figure at all. He feels heavy too. So there I'm holding him just by his legs. So he's solidly built. And there's no foam under here. I mean, it's really the figure. I remember seeing the Fat-Man body before, and it had a lot of hair on it. I think I remember it having hair on it, and there's no hair on his belly here. And I certainly don't think we've ever seen Ned Leeds without a shirt in the movie. Okay, so he has some hair on his chest. So this might be that body. So the question becomes Thor. You know, could you use this body for Thor with the hair on the chest? I think Thor didn't have any hair on his chest, right? When he was the Lord of Beer. Is that what the joke is? No belt on him, though there are loops for a belt. Pant legs are rolled up. There's the bottom of his shoes. And he does have ankle pivot, but it's restricted greatly by the height of the shoe. Double jointed knee. So you can really get a good bend there. Get a good kick out of them. But the height of this boot is what's going to restrict your ankle posing. A lot of times what they'll do, what a manufacturer will do, is they'll cut the boot in half to allow the shoe to pivot around there. So anytime you have a boot that looks like a boot, you're going to be limited. But you do have some pivot, a little bit. But really, where are you going to put him? In a chair perhaps, or just standing there? I don't see much action going on with the posing of this character. Velcro enclosure. And he has his man parts. Believe it or not. With some pubic hair. He is anatomically correct. He's there. So it really leads me to believe that this is just the Fat-Man body that they made. So I'm going to get Peter over here for size comparison, height comparison. Because Ned, if I remember correctly, he's shorter than Peter. Okay, so there's no butterfly shoulder. Okay, and instead of it being a bicep pivot up at the height, the pivot is actually here at the elbow. So this is where you get the pivot to do some adjustment. So you can move his arm about. Okay, it'll go all the way around, and it'll go up and down. But there's no forward and back butterfly in the shoulder. But because of the pivot here at the elbow, you can get him into some pretty good poses here. Again, like I said, he appears to be properly proportioned, which, of course, was a complaint of mine in regards to the first Colossus. The first Colossus was made screen accurate in regards to his proportion, but that was a mistake made by the creators, producers, directors, creative team of Colossus in Deadpool, first Deadpool movie. They used multiple actors to bring the 3D realization of Colossus to life, and as he would interact with Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool in the movie, he would have to drag him or whatever. And instead of stretching his arms out to a proper length, they just used them the length that they were. So of course, when they cranked out Colossus, it'd be in, what is he in the movie? Probably pushing 8 feet. Well over 7 feet tall. His arms were not long enough, according to Leonardo da Vinci, and most common human beings. When you stretch your arms out from fingertip to fingertip, that's how tall you are. The majority of people are proportioned in that manner. So you would expect someone to be that height. So let's see how he measures up in that manner. And the first Colossus figure, made by Toys R Us, I think, made him the same height and proportion that he was in the movie, which was wrongly proportioned. And in Deadpool 2, they resolved that and properly proportioned him. My ruler. So now, just looking at him with his arms out, he might be longer armed than he is tall. So let's see. Come on, Ned. Help me out here. Just over 12 inches. And there you have it. He is longer armed than he is taller. So, but it's not necessarily noticeable as he just stands here, in my opinion. So the helmet is attached. That sculpt. You can see inside of that. So in my opinion, anyone that has seen the movie and seen him on the shelf would know who it is. So they had to rotate, but there's no, other than this, there's not much ankle or neck joint movement. Really restricted by the size of this hard helmet. Face mask. Now the eyes, they literally are fixed on the outside of the mask. They float over them. You see these little ears on there. And that's what comes to my mind, is we could see Ned through this as we've seen him wearing the mask as they're troubleshooting or hacking into the suit. But I guess I just have a problem with the eyes being so far on top of the mask. I think they could have done a better job with this, truthfully. Not had them so far on front of the mask, literally over the mask. I wonder if that's something that can be resolved, troubleshooted, resolved, or customized. So he has the wide open eyes. Then a step down. And a step down again. So this is the wide open, this is the narrow, and then there's one in between. Just this one. So there's your eye options. And every one of them, no matter, they just sit in front of the mask. You see that? And I would have liked them to be flush. Probably my only main complaint there. But he's not designed to be put up for scrutiny. You know, this is supposed to be a fun hobby. And I say the spirit of the figure is here. They've done a really good job making him bring to your memory Ned Leeds wearing the mask. Now, I don't remember if in the comics that was any type of a comic nod, you know, a kick to the comics of, yes, there was a time when in fact Ned Leeds wore Peter Parker's spider suit. I couldn't tell you. I really do not know. I do not remember for the life of me ever in the comics if I ever remember Ned Leeds wearing the Spider-Man outfit. He may have, and I may have missed that episode. I could not tell you. Maybe this was a nod to that. Maybe you guys know. I hear you, Megatron. I hear you. But with this definitely being a third-party figure, something the Hot Toys won't touch, and that's one of the things that really bugs me. I mean, Hot Toys has the license to crank out any one or all of these characters and or figures as many times as they wish. And they could make a Ned Leeds, I guarantee you. And they chose not to. Why? Business decision. They didn't feel they would sell enough of them. So it's left up to third-party manufacturers, vendors, distributors, whatever, to make these unlicensed, what do you want to refer to them as? And so you don't necessarily get the quality that you would with a Hot Toys product, but it's not a Hot Toys product. It's not. So we have the relaxed hands. We have two finger grippy hands. So these, like, sometimes I call them gun hands, but they're just kind of like a relaxed finger holding type hand. And then we have two grippy whole hands, so like swords or whatever, right? And then two full-on fists, closed fists. So none of these would hold webbing if you were going to try to pose them shooting a web as such with the current configuration of webbing that comes with these guys. And then we have his little backpack. And again, all this comes to my memory from the movie. So it's not shocking me. It's not, I'm not looking at this thinking, who is this even supposed to be? You know what I mean? Will look cool on the shelf next to Spider-Man and the Mark 47, which is where he belongs, right? Megatron, thank you, man. Thank you. A big shout out to Megatron. Awesome, dude. Thank you for the donation. He is a shelf filler, no doubt about it. And my shelf is full in the first place. I was just looking at this yesterday thinking, where am I even going to put him at? And where am I going to put Negative Suit Spider-Man? Because right now, the Spider-Man shelf, and this was a bookshelf at one point, and bookshelves are, I think, 12 inches deep, back when people used to collect books. 9.5 inches deep. And what's a Detolf, like 15 inches or something, right? Deep? Or more, maybe 18 inches. So he's totally filled it up, 9.5 inches deep by 27 inches wide. All my Spider-Men are. I'll show you. You guys have seen it. I'll just give you a quick. So there's the Spider-Man shelf. I don't have those guys on. There we go. So there's the SpiderMan shelf as it is right now. And there, you see there's not another spot for any other Spider-Man figures. I've got Miles Morales coming sooner or later. I need to order Peter B. Parker. I got Spider-Gwen coming. I mean, I'm going to have to get a whole shelf, a whole case just for Spider-Man. And that's fine because I've always been a Spider-Man fan. Always. So this is a joyous occasion for me that Spider-Man is in the films and loved, totally loved. Tobey Maguire did a good job. A lot of us love the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield did a good job. He has his fans, Spider-Man fans. Tom Holland, I think, has been embraced by everyone that is a Spider-Man fan. I don't think there's many people at all that have turned on Tom Holland's Spider-Man. What do we want to grab here? Trying to figure out which Spidey I wanted to bring over here. This is how I have Spidey posed. Has his little book. So he sits as such. That's how I have Spidey posed. So let's stand him up next to his buddy Ned. But, you know, Hot Toys totally shows us all the time. This suit, this figure, that figure at Comic-Con and other shows that they do. And they've totally fabricated this. There's a one-off, obviously, of it. And you would hope or think that he's coming. And they never make it. So, and this they never even teased us with. This was a nothing, ever. So the fact that we have him, I think is cool. And like I said, he's not something that everybody collects, or won't be something that everyone collects. So now Ned's in boots, so he's a little taller. Spidey is literally right on his feet are flatter. But we have a height difference here. Just a little bit. The height difference. Maybe half an inch, right? And there you go, there's the height of them. The two of them standing side by side. Put them back to back. The guy in the chair. Love it when he said that. Could be your guy in the chair. Very minimal height difference here. Literally. Half inch if. Maybe even less. And I couldn't tell you how close that is to reality. But if this is a full-on dead use of the fat guy suit that they made, the fat guy body that they made, I don't believe you'd be able to use it for Thor, because Thor is supposed to be 6 feet tall. Peter Parker is not 6 feet tall. So unless they altered this, shortened his legs or something to make him fit here, or unless they added the lengthening posts to the feet to make the legs longer, which might be the case. You know, his trunk seems to be maybe a little longer than his legs, and it would work for Thor. But then, you know, I don't remember Thor having hair on his belly. I thought when he was Lord of Beer, he had a smooth belly and chest. But no, definitely, he's going to the shelf where he belongs with Spidey. Somehow. Somehow he will find a home up there. Fa Shing. How you doing? Welcome to the channel. Welcome. Are you getting the stealth suit Spider-Man with the Molten Man base? Yes. I believe ordered both of the Night Monkeys. I sure did. The Night Monkey. Definitely the Molten Man base. Wasn't Molten Man one of his original adversaries? Of course, they really um, went with some creative license there and changed things up in the storytelling of how all that came to play, and I enjoyed that. You know, Mysterio. See, Mysterio is one of the Sinister Six, and supposedly in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, Mysterio was supposed to make an appearance in Spider-Man number 4. They were going to do the Sinister Six. And Bruce Campbell, who was in the first 3 Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, was reportedly supposed to become Mysterio. Mysterio in the comics was an out-of-work actor. They blamed Spider-Man for him being out of a job, and so that's where he got the ability to use the magic from the movies to become Mysterio, right? And they did a pretty good job of using that similar story with the Tom Holland one. But Bruce Campbell played the ring announcer in this first Spider-Man. He was the guy working the front door when Mary Jane was performing on stage. And so he thwarted Spider-Man's desire to get in to see Mary Jane because he was coming after a curtain is risen, more or less. So he wouldn't let him in. So he named Spider-Man, he defeated Spider-Man, and then he was the maitre d' when Peter was wanting to propose to Mary in Spider-Man 3. And so Bruce was getting around in the Spider-Man movies, and there were supposed to be a 4 and a 5, and you know how things go. Spider-Man 3 was such a disaster on so many levels. Third movies are always difficult. Second ones are hard. Third ones are difficult. And they kind of blew it with the third one. They really did a poor job with Venom. I'm not talking about the actor. I'm just talking about the whole way that they portrayed Venom and then killed him. Or purportedly killed him. But from my understanding, Venom was supposed to continue on into the 4th movie as well. But they really had no respect for Venom in the Tobey Maguire series. So they're really making their own story with this Spider-Man. And it would be, really, really, really super cool. Kind of like how they did the multiverse Spider-Man, the comic version with Miles Morales. If they did a multiverse live action Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, oh my God. If those actors would agree to it, holy smokes. That would just be, jeez. I really don't even know what to say. It would really be something. If they were to do a multiverse with Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland, holy smokes. That, I don't even know. That would be beyond me. That would just be the epitome of cool. For real. It really would. It would tie everything, the whole thing together. Because the movies are the movies. They referenced the movies in the multiverse. They really did. They really did. So that would be great. One tech suit. Yeah, I ordered them both, the deluxe version and the regular version. because of the Molten Man. So this is Ned Leeds as he is. And really, my Spider-Man shelf up there is kind of a mishmash. So I have Marvel Cinematic Universe Spider-Man, Tom Holland, in his incarnations. And then I have the PlayStation Spider-Man and their incarnations as they're coming about. And then I have Mary Jane that I've represented from the comics using the Feist and Red Sonja. And then, of course, Black Cat from the comics, mostly. And Venom from the comics. And Electro from Spider-Man 2. So my Spider-Man is really a multiverse thing as well, just like my Deadpool. And that's why I enjoy Deadpool as well, because of all the multiple incarnations of him. So most of the collection obviously is Deadpool. The TRN 514 universe, I think, is Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool's universe. But then I have all the other Deadpools from the multiverse. Lady Deadpool, Kid Deadpool, Headpool, Squirrelpool, Dogpool. I have the Neanderoid because there was an actual short little Deadpool in the Deadpool core. The Sideshow Deadpool because he loosely represents kind of the comic / video game Deadpools. So I have all those Deadpools as well. 2 Headpools, 2 Dogpools, different companies. And I have a Pikachu pool because Deadpool's proven us he lives in every universe. Pikachu is a universe. There'd have to be a Deadpool in Pikachu, right? 100%. So now I don't know whether I'm going to get him a chair. You know, he probably deserves a chair, doesn't he? Because that's what he called himself, the guy in the chair. And we've seen him in that in Spider-Man Homecoming, where he'd hacked into the computers at school and was there helping Peter out. So he should have a chair. By the way, I had a cold this last week too, man. It started on me last Friday, and so last Saturday, you guys seen me. I was starting to get the sniffles and having a hard time with it. And man, I tell you what, I think it was Monday. I woke up, I couldn't even breathe. Maybe it was Tuesday. I don't remember what day it was. Went to the emergency room, afraid I might have pneumonia. And it's so funny. When you go to the emergency room, it's really the only place you really can get urgent care. I suppose you can go to what they call dock in the boxes. Some places have those facilities, but I'm a veteran, and so I go to the VA for my care, and there really is no dock in the box at the VA. You go to the emergency room. You either see your primary care physician, or you go to you go to the emergency room. So I was there 4 hours because obviously it wasn't an emergency, but I was having difficulty breathing. I couldn't get a good breath in, and the sneezing and drainage in my eyes felt like they were popping clean out of my head, and my face was killing me, and I'm like, the last time I couldn't breathe like this, it was pneumonia that I had. I told the nurse, and so they ordered X-rays, and it just ended up being sinusitis, sinus infection. So they gave me antibiotics and sent me home, told me I wasn't contagious. Of course, I'm wearing a mask the whole 9 yards. So, of course, I'm spending every day with my wife because she was in the hospital at this time. And I had no idea whether I got it from her, from the hospital, or from just going to the grocery store, or God knows wherever. But it seems everybody and their brother was sick this last week. And then, of course, we had that fear of the coronavirus. I really wasn't concerned with that. I didn't feel like I had coronavirus. I was afraid I had pneumonia. I pulled this so far, I pulled the little strap almost all the way out here. I'm trying to rescue it to get his little backpack back on. So thread this around here. Well, it's going to have your pliers, tweezers, screwdrivers, super glue, model glue. All keep it handy. funny. When I was growing up, you wouldn't be caught dead carrying a book bag. You carried all your books in your arms, man. 27 books underneath one elbow, just like this. You walked around carrying your books. You would be dead, caught dead carrying a backpack. What? You got a book bag? What's wrong with you? Times have changed, right? But these guys with their little backpacks. That looks cool. I'm digging him. I'm really happy I got him. It was a good price too. I don't remember how much he was, but a little over $100. I'm almost positive. I don't even know if he's even still available for order. If he is, and you're just building Spider-Man, the story, God, what a piece! What a piece, really. I'm really pleased with him. I hope in MCU Spider-Man 3, they not only bring in Oscorp, yes, you have to have Oscorp. 100%. You have to have Oscorp. I don't know who you would say would be his more best friend. Because you have to really wonder who were his real friends if you're talking about reading back through the comics. Mary Jane obviously loved Peter to death. They were inseparable when they finally, became as they were. That truthfully became his real best friend. But you wonder whether Harry was truly ever his real best friend. Ned loved him. Um, but you have to have Oscorp. You have to have Oscorp. You have to. You really do. And it was really nice to see the nod with J. Jonah Jameson with the same actor. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name either. But that was the same actor from Tobey Maguire, which again, goes through possibly, hopefully, the MCU. It was great. He was a great J. Jonah Jameson. It was so good to see him. The Hobgoblin already. Yeah, two people, if I remember correctly, two people wore the Hobgoblin outfit, and I don't remember if Ned was first or if Markendale was first. I think Ned was first. And then Macendale, what was his name? Became the Hobgoblin second. Wasn't that the case? So we never had the nod to the Hobgoblin in the other movies. We had the Green Goblin. And the Hobgoblin was a kickoff from Green Goblin. But no, I don't remember whether Macendale was the Hobgoblin first or if Ned Leeds became the Hobgoblin. And again, that might be a nod to the mask. I don't know. I don't remember ever if Ned wore the Spider-Man outfit. I really don't. My Hobgoblin identity history is a little frosty with me. Yeah, mine too. I don't remember who was first. I don't remember whether Ned Leeds was first or was it Robert Macendale? He was a was he a mercenary that became the Hobgoblin? Yeah, there were definitely two Hobgoblins. I mean, one outfit, two people were the identity of him throughout the time frame. So the fact that the coolness of Spider-Man being where he is now in our lives is just beyond me. I mean, this is oh man. Give us all. I've said it before. I would buy every single one of the PlayStation suits, every one of them, and I really need to track down, the Tobey Maguire suits. I really need to track down the Andrew Garfield suits. And they made a Tobey Maguire suit for the PlayStation 4, right? So they could do that. They teased us with what was it, not the advanced suit, the high velocity suit. They teased us with that. Will they make it? Who's to say? I hate that when Hot Toys does that. I mean, I really do. I really hate that they show this beautiful suit off or this outfit or this character or something and then nothing comes. you know when they're making the TIE Fighter or the Millennium Falcon, that'll never happen, right? But when they show you a figure, you would hope that that goes forward. And so many figures Hot Toys has shown us over the years that have never made it. Probably the longest one that I think they've dropped after showing it and then it coming out finally was the Mark III Stealth in diecast. And so they showed this as a plastic figure in around like, gosh, 2012, I believe it was, at one of the cons. And then boom, he comes out when the diecasts were out. And I'm like, that'll never happen. It really was a nothing figure. Truthfully. It was just specifically a nod to how Tony would be drawn, Iron Man would be drawn whenever they would show him in a stealth style mode in the comics. So they would use blue and black ink to make him, be stealthy. So when they made this, that was that nod to that. There's no movie here. There was never a specific blue with red arc reactor Iron Man. So it was a nod to the comics of the stealth. So like I said, they showed this at one of the cons back in, I think it was 2012. And then all of a sudden, let's see what the year says on the bottom of this foot. Oh, geez, someone need glasses. Can't make it out. But all of a sudden, this comes to us for pre-order. I think in 2014, right? So that doesn't sound like that long when you start thinking about it. 2 years. So it just seemed like it was a long time. 2014? No. 2015. Like September of 2015. Or August even. Is when they announced this figure. And it has a copyright of 2015. So it was like 3 years from it being snuck to us as a plastic piece and then it come to fruition as a die cast. And I never thought for 1 second that they would make this. I mean, for real. I was like, this will never happen. Sure enough. We went for pre-order, sold, and then out. And nobody really... I haven't seen very many collectors even have this guy, to tell you the truth. I don't know how many of them they made. He's die-cast. Iron Man 3. But so many times, so often, Hot Toys will show a figure and then nothing happens to it. So right now it's the Velocity suit that we've seen, and it doesn't seem to be any nod to it coming from anywhere. And we also seen the Iron Spider suit in like his more or less Hall of Armor. So we've seen that, and no further mention or reference to either one of those. And it's literally the Iron Spider, just the suit, just the case for it. I'd buy that. It'd be a great way of displaying some of these suits, the PS4 suits, because in the multiverse we see that Peter Parker with his full-on tech garage underground under Aunt May's house with all the suits in an Iron Man style collection. It'd be great to do that, especially if they're going to continue cranking them out. And like I said, I would buy every one of them. Every one of them I'd buy. No doubt about it. If you had to pick who is it Iron Man or Spider-Man. Me and Spidey go way back, man. Way back. I mean, when I started reading comics, it was Batman and Superman. I think everybody read Batman or Superman, or is familiar with Batman and Superman to some degree, right? So I read Batman and Superman, but I wasn't buying my comics at that point. They were just given to me, and so people would buy those comics. My family members would buy those comics for me, and they were never in order. It was just a story of Batman or Superman that I would come across. And then when I started buying comics, I discovered Spider-Man, and I'm like, I can relate to Spider-Man. He's just a kid. He's an intelligent kid. He's a genius. So he has that going for him. But other than that, just a kid, just a regular high school kid. And I know you guys remember how fun high school was, not, right? Unless you were the most popular kid, then I imagine there's even stressors beyond that, being that probably ruins you to this day. But yeah, high school was rough for us. And so here's Peter trying to go through being a high school kid and everything else that he's dealing with. And he wasn't a mutant. They used to call him the non-mutant superhero. Back when they had in the comics the Mutant Registration Act, which they turned into the Sokovia Accords, more or less. And they talked about the mutant registration in one of the X-Men movies, right? Um, he was not a mutant. He was one of the ones that in the comics, in the Civil War comics, he lifted his mask and showed his identity. So I related to Peter Parker because he's just a guy, just a kid, just a normal person, except his genius intelligence. But I think all of us think we're intelligent to some degree, right? So we can relate to that. But he wasn't rich. He wasn't a mutant. He didn't have anything else going for him. He couldn't buy everything like Batman or Tony Stark can. He wasn't an alien from another planet. He didn't have like Wade Wilson, a mutated ability that came out of him. In the comics, he made his web shooters. They didn't come through his skin. He wasn't a mutant. He was mutated by being bitten by a radioactive spider, but he was not a mutant. And so that means any one of us in comic book world had become bitten by the same radioactive spider would be put into that same scenario. And that's what it was. Here he is trying to deal with being who he was, just a kid, trying to find his own identity as a teenager. And at the same time, he's got the secret identity of being Spider-Man. And he's trying to worry about his Aunt May, and the whole 9 yards with that. And Aunt May would have been his dad's, let's see, Aunt May would have been his dad's sister-in-law. His Uncle Ben would have been his dad's brother, I'm assuming, would have been the play of it all. And so when his mom and dad disappeared, and they've done different stories on to what actually happened to his mom and dad, with them being like secret agents and whatever else. And so Ben and May raised him. And so in where we know him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they don't retell that story again, the death of Ben Parker, which made Spider-Man understand his greatest motto: with great power comes great responsibility. With power comes responsibility, and with great power comes great responsibility. And so that's what drove him, what his Uncle Ben had taught him. And so he always wanted to protect his Aunt May, which was another one of the things going on in his life. And that just made Peter such a believable, real character, somebody that I could relate to. So yeah, Peter for fact, all the way, all the way. Spider-Man and Peter for fact, all the way. The Velocity is the original suit designed for the game by the comic book artist Adi Granov. I did not know that. I do know that the advanced suit was their own special suit that was never in anything else ever. So the creators of that video game, the advanced suit is their suit. It is a 100% PS4, no other realm suit has that one been in. And I love the advanced suit. For those of you who don't remember which one that is. And I instantly fell in love with this suit. It's nice to see a new suit, per se. You know what I mean? I have no problem with any of the suits. I'm not complaining about a suit. This is the MCU suit, so it's a new suit. But this is a new suit. What in any comic, there was never a nod to this, to the best of my knowledge or recollection, in any of the comics or any of the screen scene Spideys. So this was their suit. This is the PS4 suit, and it's cool. I think even you could have bought a PS4 with this red with white Spider-Man on it, and it's really cool. I really like this. And again, here in comparison to the way the eyes are, I wish these eyes had fit this better. You know what I mean? That would have been nice. Speaking of, by the way, so um, one of the Spideys, I don't remember which one it is. I think it's the Iron Spider. It's a giant magnet holding the head onto the body, right? So I've seen that there's a company now that's making a little magnetic head attachment. So you can put, because it comes with a Tobey Maguire, a Tom Holland head sculpt that you can put on there. So you can take this little neck piece with the magnet on it and put it onto regular bodies. So you could use that Tom Holland sculpt on the other ones with that neck adapter. I seen that the other day, offered through one of the companies that sells these figures. I don't remember which one it was. Don't remember who made that, but it's neat. So search it out if you're looking for a way to put the magnetic Tom Holland onto your different Spideys. That's the way to go. How breakable are these? Ha! Um, just the other day, within the last 2 weeks, I had come into the office here. So actually, within the last month, thinking back, within the last month, some of my figures decided they wanted to try and escape. So I'll come in and find them on the floor. So the ones that have been on the floor were BB-8. It took a nosedive. The Ant-Man and Wasp took a nosedive. And my Cable took a nosedive. And just pick them up, dust them off, set them on there, and they're fine. They're not necessarily fragile. There are some pieces that are fragile. The Iron Man Mark 1 version 2.0 that I have is fragile. I would really hate for that guy to take a nosedive. Any others that are totally fragile. BB-8 really worried me because he's got the little antenna on him and his little hands. And I was like, oh, geez, some of that got broken. Same thing with the Astromechs, R2s, R5s. If they fell, that would really concern me because of the antenna. My Ant-Man, again, because of the antenna, would really worry me. I've not had an Iron Man that fell that ever concerned me. Spider-Man definitely wouldn't concern me because there's nothing on him really that is fragile. Not no little bitty pieces that are hanging out. It's a durable figure. You don't want to hand it to your 7-year-old and say, "Here you go, have at it." I mean, we're talking. He was maybe a little over $100. This dude's $300 right here. The new Spider-Man negative suit. I think he was 250. If I remember correctly. He's the most expensive Spider-Man so far, sold by Hot Toys, and it isn't something you want to give to your kid. You really don't. Could they'd say not for ages 5 and under specifically, and then they say these are adult collectibles, ages 15 and up. This one actually says ages 17 and up because he's anatomically correct down here. So he's NC-17. This guy is. These guys are 15 and up. But no, they're not fragile. Now, I would assume that Iron Man here, if you were to take a nosedive off the top shelf there, and that top shelf is 7 feet, I've got Iron Man up at the top that are easily pushing 8 feet tall. I think that's an 8.5 feet, maybe 9 foot ceiling. If they were to take a nosedive off of there would be some damage. 9 feet drop. there'd be some damage. 8 feet drop, there'd be some damage. Something's going to pop off. And that's what the super glue and the model glue is for. Put it back together. I've had to do a lot of repairs on pieces, not from being damaged through falls, but just from them coming from Hot Toys and opening them up and something not working or being bent or broke or whatever. I think it was my one of my Iron Man suits were like literally one of the things weren't even attached. It's just flopping around in the box. So I had to use a paper clip and a pin to stick it back in there to apply it to the figure because it was just poorly put together in the first place. So that's a crying shame. But no, these guys right here, they're not fragile. If I came in and it took a nosedive, maybe the eyes would pop off, maybe the head might pop off. But you see, I'm holding him by his head, and he's doing well. You know what I mean? He's not. There's no fear of him coming apart, per se. So if he took a nosedive, I'd probably find him totally complete. Maybe the head be popped off. Maybe the eyes would be popped out. But I wouldn't feel that he's become damaged, per se, in that manner. This guy, maybe his little accessories will be flopping around. Sometimes maybe a button will come off on one of these. Sometimes they're glued on. Sometimes they're sewn on. Sometimes you get additional buttons with your figures when they come. You've seen right then, just a little bit ago, I pulled this so far, I yanked this out. So you have to be prepared to repair your figures in that manner, right? First 3 years of high school for me were hell, except my senior year. That was my reward. Apology given for a school year, right? Right? We all lived for the senior year. If you've spent your high school years in one high school, normally by the time you make it to be a senior, you become adjusted. Your friends have adjusted to you. A lot of high schools are even multiple schools coming together into a high school. A lot of kids transfer a lot, and we're still finding ourselves, let alone trying to find how we interact with other people, socializing properly. And then there's always people that are having difficulty adjusting no matter. And they always have some type of a struggle or something, and they may never feel comfortable with themselves or with others in high school. And it's such a difficult thing. It's so hard growing up. And guess what? Life doesn't get any better when you get older. It's always going to be that way. You really are. So don't give up. Keep up the fight, and be happy for yourself. Don't beat yourself up over the ideas or misconceptions that others have of you. Be confident in who you are. When you find you, love you. And love you whether you find you or not. Don't ever stop loving yourself. And don't let somebody get so much in your brain that you go to drastic measures to do something stupid. You know what I mean? So many people suffer from that. I think that's why a lot of times anorexia and bulimia become problems with some people. They struggle with weight and they go to the extreme to try to please somebody else. Now make yourself happy. Don't become overweight because it's hard on your life. It's hard on your body doing that. Trust me. This came on me, and I turned around 30 when I started really gaining some weight. I was never overweight when I was young. I was always active, always doing something, and then eating the wrong foods and inactivity caused this. You don't want to be here, but at the same token, you don't want to become anorexic or bulimia to please somebody else. I'm pretty happy how I am. The friends I have like me. You guys love me. My wife loves me. So, I'm pleased with who I am. But yeah, I would like to lose some weight. I wish I'd look back as I was, 6'4", 220 pounds. That'd be great. But I don't believe it's ever going to happen ever again. It might, but don't let other people bother you. High school is such a hard time, no matter. But hey, the real world is just as rough. And I say that because in high school, you're only advancing yourself. You're educating yourself for the future, hopefully to go on to college or get some sort of trade or something that you can take care of yourself for the rest of your life, hopefully. But even in the world where you are trying to please somebody else when you have a job or you work for yourself, you're still having to please a customer. There's always going to be that struggle. There's always going to be something that's going to come up upon you. It really is. That's life. And then even if you are living your life well, you're pleased with where you are for the most thing. The universe or God or devil or whoever you want to look at this throws a complete curveball at you, and that's where my wife and I are. And you never can prepare for everything. Of course, when I was raised, we used to say, expect the worst, hope for the best. As long as you do that, you're never going to be disappointed. Because if you expect or plan for the worst and it never happens, then at least you know you had a good enough life. And if you hope for the best and it doesn't come, you didn't count on getting the best. So expect for the worst, hope for the best. And no matter what, life happens. Life. What do you say? Life is life. And then you have to deal with that. Don't give up the fight. We all go through it. Take comfort in reading the stories of old. Homer's Odyssey. Read that. You want to read about a life? My goodness. And read. Don't stop reading. Don't stop reading. Read anything. I don't care what it is. Harry Potter, comic books, novels. Read something every now and again. That works all of your brain. It really does. Dr. Octavius help him design the advanced suit. I really enjoyed how they did the octopus in Marvel Cinematic in the multiverse. Really cool. I thought that was funny when Peter's like, your friends call you Doc Ock, and he's like, my enemies call me Doc Ock. Oh, that was awesome. And I enjoyed the way they did Doc Ock in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I really enjoyed that. But I really think they're going to do the Sinister Six. You have to have the Sinister Six. Who was that again? That was Electro and Vulture and Doc Ock and Mysterio. Who were the other two? Help me out. Who were the Sinister Six? And weren't they employed by J. Jonah Jameson? Wasn't that who actually set them up to kill Spider-Man? It was so funny. Peter was taking photographs of himself as Spider-Man, selling them to the Daily Bugle, the newspaper that he worked freelanced for, and J. Jonah would literally use these pictures as propaganda to destroy Spider-Man. So Peter Parker was almost self-defeating himself as well. What a story when you really look into that. Jeez. So what else is going on? Let's see. So next week I'm opening up the Images of Icon. If I'm saying that correctly. The multi-arms from Doctor Strange. It's supposed to fit on either of the Doctor Strange figures. I've got the original, the first Doctor Strange. I'd ordered the second one. I wasn't able to pay for it when it first came out, so it got canceled. And I've not reordered it. I keep telling myself I'd like to get that second Doctor Strange from, I guess, Infinity War would be where he's from. So I have the Doctor Strange. So I have the Images of Icon arms. And I really want to put him with the Infinity War because that's where we see him at. When he's there examining all, what was it, 13 million different variations, and then only one of them did they succeed, right? So that's what I want to do is get that suit and put those arms on him. But we'll put him on my regular Doctor Strange now, where he's in his Sanctum Sanctorum. Is that how you say that? And what's so difficult is when you have a figure as such. It has nothing else with it. Where do you display it on the shelf? He really deserves his own spot. And I have him down here with the Infinity War Thanos and Mark 50 and Black Widow and Captain America. He works well there, but he's really homeless as such. So we'll be talking about him next week. Negative Suit will be the week after that. And the Jose, forget the last name now, Vampirella. That'll be in 3 weeks from now. So you guys got anything else on your mind you want to talk about? Short and sweet. Not much to go on with this figure. He is as he is. He's going to look great with his buddies. And I've got an R2D2 that's supposed to be coming soon. I imagine I've got a someone say Captain Marvel is starting to ship now, so that should be coming within the next month or so. The story in the PS4 Spider-Man, and again, every time a franchise gets a hold of Spidey, they alter the story just a little bit. That's why there's so many also Black Widows, and it's nice to see that. And with the understanding and the realization of the multiverse of which Marvel so readily embraces, all of these can coexist. You know what I mean? All of them can, through specifically Deadpool, cross over. If I remember correctly, there was like a one of the universes that were kind of in charge of keeping track of the multiverses. I forget which Earth that was, where they actually kind of had like passports. If you remember the Jackie, what was it, Jet Li movie called The One, really good movie, and it was kind of dealing with multiverses. What a great movie! Really enjoyed The One. So I dig all the multiverses, and I'm happy to embrace every Spider-Man. The core Earth in the Marvel comics is Earth 616. And they made a nod to that in Spider-Man Far From Home when Mysterio was telling Nick Fury of the multiverse. Because obviously, until that point, they didn't understand there even was a multiverse. And he professed to being from another universe. And he claimed that, I think he said this was Earth 616, I think is what he was saying. And it was not. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is Earth 19999. That's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Deadpool exists in Earth TRN 514, if I remember correctly. And I don't remember where the X-Men are. I think the X-Men have totally just screwed everything up in regards to what Earth they are possibly on. I don't even know what the core X-Men cinematic Earth is. But the Marvel Comics main Earth is 616. So I don't know what the PlayStation Earth is, but it again is a multiverse. It is its own Earth, and so we can have a full-on Spider-Man Earth with the PlayStation. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. So here where we at. In the story in the PS4, Spider-Man is so good. His relationship with Doc Ock in the game is similar to the one he has in Spider-Man 2. Cool, cool. In the comics, his professor, I think it was his college professor, was maybe it was his high school um, teacher, was the Lizard. What was his name? I'm trying to remember his name, but he had a great relationship with him. He used to go to his labs all the time to develop and work on his equipment. And of course, he became the Lizard because he lost his arm. If I remember in the comics, he lost his arm, I think, in Vietnam. I don't remember well. But as they retell these stories, they try to keep the timeline of them going. So even though they might retell a story, they're still keeping Earth 616 just to keep it relative to the readers at that point. But he was trying to regrow his arm from the regenerative abilities of lizards who have the ability to lose their tail and they'll regrow a tail. So he was splicing his genome, his DNA, with that of the lizards, and he became the Lizard. What was his name? Kirk Connors, right? I think that's his name, Dr. Kirk Connors. That was one of his buddies. I don't remember how much relationship he had with Doc Ock outside of the fact that they were constantly at each other. Was it Doc Ock that dated Aunt May in the comics? I think it was Doc Ock, wasn't it? I think he's the one that dated Aunt May. I think he knew who Spider-Man was, too. He was one of the ones that figured out his identity. You know, you have to wonder how secret is your identity when people start figuring it out, right? The One. Yes. I am Gabe Law. I'm nobody's bitch. Right? Oh my God. If you love multiverse movies, The One. Check it out. Gosh, it's I imagine pushing 20 years old now. I think it came out in around 2001 or something like that. What a really interesting movie. And I think it had Jason Statham in it, and I think the other person in it was a Lawrence Fishburne, if I remember correctly. Really good movie. Really good one. The one. Really good movie. Really interesting way of working the multiverse too, in how we ourselves interact with the multiverse. Really interesting story in that regards. Doc Ock was his mentor figure. Okay. So I'm assuming then, from what you're saying, that Save on Maison is when Ben Parker died, who was his father figure, he sought out a father figure and turned to Doc Ock for that. I assume that's what you're referring to in that manner. So I hope that the Velocity suit is put up for pre-order soon. I really do, and I would like to see the suits, because they're making the miniature spiders, Spider-Man, and they have, I think, the big time Spidey in that, and I think they had there was another one I think that was on that, but and then of course they had the little bobble heads, and I think they have the Spirit Spider in the bobblehead. Oh my God! For fact hope that they make all the PS4 Spider-Man. I really do. I really, really do. I'll buy them all, every one of them, for fact. I would, no question about it. No head sculpt for Unmasked Ned, and I wish there was. I really do. I really wish there was. But I mean, this tells the story. And truthfully, if it came with an unmasked head, it's rare that I display them without their mask. For real. I have okay, so this suit, Spider-Man, has been in all 5 movies that Tom Holland's been in. So I don't know how to refer to this. It obviously was first seen in Civil War. And then he's wearing the same suit in Homecoming. And then he's wearing this same suit in Infinity War and in Endgame and in Far From Home. So this is his core suit. Okay? So I have the core suit, which came from Spider-Man Homecoming, with the head sculpt on it. But other than that, all my other Spideys are with their helmet. Same with Tony. I have the Mark 45 over here with the head on without a helmet. And I have a lot of helmets that are open. Their faceplates are open on, showing a head. And I've made helmets for faceplates to show the head that didn't come as such. For instance, this Mark 9. If you were to buy this Mark 9, now keep in mind, you couldn't just buy the Mark 9. For whatever insane reason, when Hot Toys made the Mark 9, they included it with Pepper Potts. Their story was that this was the suit that Pepper ripped the arm off of and used the repulsor to destroy Killian. Those of us that are true diehard Iron Man fans know that that's not the truth whatsoever. It was actually the Mark 8 suit that she plucked out of the sky, shoving her arm through its chest, and then putting on the arm and shooting the missile that was kicked into Killian and exploding on him and killing him effectively. Spoiler alert, a little late, but if you haven't seen Iron Man 3 by now, come on. For real? Anyhow, when the Mark 9 suit came out, the only way of getting it was by buying the Pepper Potts. So you could have bought Pepper Potts in one of two ways. You could have bought Pepper Potts by herself, or you could have bought Pepper Potts with the Mark 9 suit. Of course, I bought Pepper Potts with the Mark 9 suit. And at the time, I was really enjoying making these helmets and putting Tony inside of it. And I had intention, literally, to do every single helmet. Because in reality, you would imagine, Tony wore every single suit at one point or another. So this was a head sculpt that I made for the Mark 9, and it totally closes. So if you don't want to see his mug, you can close up the helmet as well. There you go. And I've made these. I made several of them. Put two of them up online for sale. A Mark 20 and the Mark 22, I think, I put up for sale. Nobody wants to buy them. Keep in mind, in order to make one of these, first off, you've got to buy the helmet. I'm not going to destroy the helmet. I still have the Mark 9 helmet that came with the figure. I bought a second Mark 9 helmet, which cost me, I think, 50 bucks. And then I had to buy a Mark 33 head sculpt, which cost me, again, another 60, 70 bucks. So just in parts alone, I had well over 120, 130, 140 bucks when you throw in tax and shipping and everything else in regards to all of that. Then I would spend an entire week shaving and cutting and grinding and opening up and making this helmet come apart when it was never designed for such to be able to put all this together. So I charged $100 for my custom work in regards to that, and I figured $250 is fair for a helmeted head sculpt, a one of a kind, a one-off, literally. And nobody's interested, and I'm probably going to take them off eBay. But I only put them up there just to make some money. I was trying to pay some medical bills. I've got the bills paid now, and everything's cool. So I'm probably going to take everything off eBay that I have up there. But yeah, so rarely do I ever show one of these characters without their helmet on, truthfully. So even if Ned came with a regular head, and I'm sorry, I don't know the actor's name. Forgive me for not knowing his name. I probably would still want his helmet on. I would still probably want the Spider-Man head on, really. Now, with all my Deadpools, I have a casual weight, which we unboxed last week, and then I have a Deadpool head sculpt that I bought from a third-party manufacturer, and it's on there. But gosh, I've got from the movies, the three Deadpools. So I've got the Dusty Deadpool, Deadpool 2, and Deadpool 1. So taking his helmet, his head, and showing just his head by then, it's fine because we know who he is. We can see him. Representation of his helmet is there. But if you're only having just one figure of it, really only one, you want something to really play it out. And so this, I think, lets people know who he is. If he's just standing there and you're showing your figures off, like I was mentioned earlier, the UPS guy's dropping off another one of your figures there, and you got him in the living room, and looks over your shoulder and goes, "Oh, you got a nice little collection there." Who's the guy standing there with the backpack and the shirt and the jeans? If it was the actor's head, if he's not a big fan, he might not. He'd be like, "Who? Why are you collecting this guy? Who am I supposed to know who he is?" But now with this Spider-Man helmet on, face mask, however you want to call it, it at least gets their brain thinking somehow he's related to Spider-Man. Somehow there's a Spider-Man story here. And you don't have to necessarily explain that whole story, or it may even jog a memory. But when you have just the character standing there, it makes it difficult. But no, I do wish that they did come with it. I really do wish that there was a head sculpt for that. And I would buy one. I would. Truthfully, I would buy one. I would buy one, truthfully. And I'm disappointed. But for the price, I don't think you can go wrong. And really, this is the story. This is the story. This is the snapshot in time. Right here. This is our story. Doc Ock wasn't a villain to be a villain. He was trying to accomplish something for the greater good, but kind of gets corrupted in doing so. I think a lot of villains feel that they're not villains. Venom, for instance. He's the anti-hero, for real. He literally thinks he's doing the world a justice by cleaning the riffraff off of the street. He really thinks he's a good guy. And he's an anti-hero. He's a bad guy. He really is. But he's also animalistic. So he kind of has that nature to him as well. But he's of a higher intelligence. So then you have to wonder how much of that is animalistic behavior and how much of that is decision making. But a lot of bad guys are really thinking they're doing something good. Thanos, for instance. His whole thing, I could snap my fingers, and half of the universe would be gone. He literally thought that was a good thing. There are those of you that would argue that it is. I don't believe that it is. But there are those of you that would argue that it is a good thing. He is a villain, but he, in his mind, he's a good guy. It's interesting when you can sit back and think that. You know, what side of the line are you really on? When you think you're a good guy, are you really a bad guy all along? That's deep. Another movie I feel like doesn't get enough credit is Demolition Man. I love that movie. Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes. So you don't know how the seashells work, right? That was a really cleverly done movie. Yeah, that's one worth revisiting. In it, Wesley Snipes played a character that was a villain, a criminal, and somehow he got frozen in time or something. And Sylvester Stallone was a police officer always trying to catch him. And somehow he volunteered as well to go into some type of cryogenic deep sleep in the hopes of one day in the future, should um, Wesley Snipes' villain ever come awake, that he would catch him because he's the only guy that could catch him. So it's kind of a weird story in that regards, that you'd somehow allow him to do that. And sure enough, in the future, Wesley Snipes is awakened, and he goes back to being a bad guy. And in this utopian future, they don't use toilet paper. They use seashells or something to take care of themselves after using the necessities. And it's quite a clever side story in regards to that. Another side story is that they listen to on the radio commercials from the 80s, if I remember correctly. The jingles from the 80s what was the music on the radio back then. What a trip. If you've not seen Demolition Man, check it out. Iron Man 3 is really underrated. My biggest complaint, my absolute biggest complaint with Iron Man 3 was how they handled the Mandarin. For real. That, I think, was very disrespectful of a very bad guy. And they had made so many references to the Ten Rings in Ant-Man, in the other two Iron Man movies, with Roxxon Oil. I mean, all these nods and references to these entities and this ability and these rings, and all of a sudden just for them to shrug it off and say it was Killian from AIM that was doing all of this. That was my biggest complaint with Iron Man 3. For fact, it was. I hated it they blew up his mansion in Malibu. Really hated that. Loved Tony's house. But no, that was my biggest complaint. For fact, the way that they treated the Mandarin. And I love the Mandarin. I have my Mandarin figure up here. He also was a really good buy. I don't know if he's still available for sale, but the actor Ben Kingsley, I think is his name. He's a wonderful actor, and he the character perfectly as he was being the Mandarin. But then it's just to shrug it off as him being an actor paid to portray this. Oh, come on. No, it just doesn't add up. I mean, got the Ten Rings tattoos on their neck in the Ant-Man movie, and we've got the Ten Rings from the first movie where the Obadiah literally is funding their little war more or less, and sheesh, it just doesn't add up. I really have a hard time with the Killian being the Mandarin. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't. And that's my biggest complaint with Iron Man 3. Really. Love Iron Man 3. I want all the suits. I want them all. I want every one of them. But in perspective, when Thanos snapped, he also snapped away some of his own people. Oh, yes, he did. But I thought that everyone from his planet was like dead or something, weren't they? If he was truly a dick, he would have just snapped away all of the Avengers and he would have been good. Well, remember though, he thought he was a good guy. So he wasn't doing it in a vengeful way, per se. especially with the Avengers. He really considered the Avengers more of a nuisance at that time. He thought he was way beyond all that. I mean, he was a god killer. He killed Loki. Loki was a god, you know? So I think he was just beyond that. Think that he felt that he was doing something good. I don't think he was trying to be a dick, truthfully. I really think he was trying to do something good in his twisted way of doing things. And he went about it the wrong way. So no, I don't think he would have ever, specifically killed the Avengers. I don't think that was his plan, really. He looked at them with curiosity and even honor in some ways, like Captain America. And when Thor, drove his Stormbringer into his chest, and Thanos was like, should have gone for the head, you know. He had like a respect or a curiosity towards the Avengers. He was familiar with all the worlds in his universe. I imagine he was also familiar with other universes, but he was definitely familiar with all the worlds in our universe. He was a universal traveler. He'd met lots of species. Captain Marvel made reference to that. There's others out there. It's not just us. But I think he considered the Avengers more of a nuisance than a threat. I don't think for one second he ever felt that the Avengers would defeat him. That was just beyond anything. So I don't think he had to go out. I don't think he ever felt that he ever had to go out of his way to destroy the Avengers. I don't think that was ever a concern of his. It was Earth's mightiest heroes, the Avengers. He really didn't. I don't think he was threatened at all. So, for instance, oh my God, in Avengers Endgame, when we actually have pre-Infinity War Thanos now on Endgame, who wasn't familiar of the events that had happened over the last 7 years, on Earth, destroying what was left of Earth at that point, and Scarlet Witch shows up. One of my favorite scenes in the movie. And she is beyond pissed. Her lover was killed. Her brother was killed. Her family was killed. And for the most part, she was blaming Thanos for all of this. And Scarlet Witch is by far, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, probably the strongest Avenger. Probably the strongest hero that they have. And she's like, you have killed everyone that I love. He very innocently looks at her and says, I don't even know who you are. Oh, how do you drive a stake into someone's heart? My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. I don't even have any idea who you are. You are nothing, nobody, and of no consequence to me. That just made her even all the more furious. And in my opinion, she was demolecularizing him. She was going to disintegrate him atom per atom. That is what I believe she was doing to him. Was taking him apart down to the molecular level. She was going to destroy him into itty bitty little teeny weeny Thanos pieces. That's what she was going to do to him. Oh, man. Yes, I cannot wait for the real Manor to come and fuck shit up. Oh man, I am not kidding you. They made that little Marvel side movie called Hail to the King or something to that effect. If you've not seen it, research it. Okay? It takes place after Iron Man 3. We see the Mandarin in jail. We see Killian in jail. And a reporter is there to interview the Mandarin. And it's really a good movie, a short movie, or whatever you want to call it. And it gives hope that there's going to be something going on beyond this. And I pray that we do get the Mandarin. I pray that we get the Mandarin. Now, I would like it to be Ben Kingsley if he's open to play the role. It would be great. let's just say for 1 second that maybe in somehow, some way, somebody brainwashed Ben Kingsley's character, the Mandarin, that we are shown in Iron Man 3, and made him forget that he was the Mandarin. And he thought he was just an actor portraying a character. And then they are able to reintegrate his brain, kind of like how they would do with the Winter Soldier, and make him the Mandarin again. You know, that would be an interesting storyline. But I would love to see Ben Kingsley continue on being the Mandarin if they decide to continue on that line. That would be great. The Ten Rings. That would be great. I think that would be great. Hot Toys Mandarin Ben Kingsley head sculpt is 100% on point. Dude, I'm in agreement. I agree with you 100% there. And what a good price he was, too. He might even still be for sale now. Go to Big Bad Toy Store and check it out. But this is great. Let's take his glasses off. I think they did a great job with this. And he comes with the rings on his fingers. But yeah, this is great. It really is. Really like this guy. And that's what's fun about the 1/6 scale. It's like having your own little wax museum of these actors and actresses, especially when it's such a great dead-on sculpt as such. But yeah, I really think they need to revisit the Mandarin and give him the respect that he deserves. He's a bad dude. They need to bring him back for fact. And I'd like Ben Kingsley to reprise the role and find a way of making him the Mandarin, the real Mandarin, with the 10 rings. Each of the rings did they're like some magical ability or something, if I remember correctly. And so that's the whole thing of the 10 rings. I would like to see that. I really would. Mandarin will 100% be making an appearance in the movie Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. He'll be played by an Asian actor. Well, you know, that's cool. That's probably a better choice because that's who he's supposed to be, right? And maybe that might be where they're going to be bringing Ben Kingsley up to meet him, the real Mandarin. I don't know. That'd be cool. I did not know that. And I didn't know that there was a movie I hope I'm saying it right. Shang-Chi. When was that announced? That'd be great. That'd be really great. And I hope that maybe Ben Kingsley gets a role in there somewhere. Because he's in that little blurb. If you've not seen that, go check that out. I think it's called Hail to the King. I think that's what it's called. Seeing them in jail. It's quite comedic, actually, as well. But it's really good. It continues in the story. So I've had you guys for an hour and 40 minutes. Anything else on your mind y'all want to discuss while we're here? So appreciate y'all. I have a Patreon if you'd like to donate. I have nothing to offer you. I mean, I can't give away Hot Toys figures. I can't. I wish I could. But I just don't see that as a viable thing. Jeez. But if you want to throw $1 my way, I would be eternally grateful. And thank you for those of you who are patrons of mine. Thank you so very much. Thank you. And thank you for your donation today. Thank you so very much for that. And just like and subscribe if you haven't already. Of course, thumbs up, share the channel. And I'm here every Saturday. Like I said, you guys make the show. You really do. I still make videos every now and then if something I feel is absolutely newsworthy. It's just so much work making a video, post-production of it and pre-production of it, and just to throw it out there. And I've involved with so many other things now that this hour and a half, 2 hour, 3 hour show that we do here. I think I'd probably give you more information during that time frame than I can in any 10-minute, 20-minute blurb talking about something where I'm only just doing the only talking instead of sharing with you guys. I love you guys. I love this being our channel. I think there's even a way that if you wanted to upload a video on my channel, you could even do that. We could truthfully make this our channel, more or less. So that was announced when they showed off the next phase. Really? That'd be great. So I'm here every Saturday. I think only maybe once or twice I've ever skipped a Saturday. And one Saturday was, because my wife was in the hospital. And I think another Saturday I was just sick and tired or something. With nothing going on, nothing unboxed, didn't have anything. I was like, I ain't even showing up. And I'm sorry about that, guys. But other than that, when we're here every Saturday, we'll talk about anything you want. Talk about what you guys got going on. Talk about what customs you're working on. I like hearing some of your updates. Plus, you guys are obviously, as Savon is here, you're in touch with what's going on as well. Getting some information like last week, one of the fellows was talking about the Mark 49 rescue suit. I'm the creator of that. So it's nice to hear all that. It's good to share with all with all of us. And these videos are up on YouTube forever until YouTube goes bankrupt. I'm not pulling the videos down. So whatever you put out there is out there. So thank you very much. See you next week for Doctor Strange's arms. See you the week after that for Spider-Man negative suit. And we'll see you the week after that for Vampirella and my third Vampirella made by Fison/TBD. And I'm sure something else will be coming for that fourth week. And we'll be going from there. Peace out. Save all Mason. Thanks, Noble Young. Love you guys. See ya. Have a good week.